England developed a framework of regulatory policies termed mercantilism to increase exports, decrease imports, and grow richer at the expense of other European states. Though these policies were not developed as a well-integrated set of ideas about international commerce, they did provide a blueprint for England's first empire and remained in place with only minor adjustments until 1765. Regulating colonial trade. Beginning in 1660, Parliament passed a series of navigation acts which detailed commercial restrictions and set up the Board of Trade to oversee colonial affairs and to limit competition, especially with the Dutch. Inadequate or lax enforcement and corruption often impeded the exclusion of imperial policies, but ultimately the colonists largely obeyed the Navigation Acts because they found it to be profitable to do so. Colonial factions sparked political revolt 1676 to 1691. In the second half of the 17th century, several of the colonies experienced instability as the local gentry split into competing political factions. The internal rebellions erupted in Virginia, Maryland, New York, and Massachusetts Bay. Civil War in Virginia, Bacon's Rebellion. In 1676, Virginians suffered from an economic depression and political repression. Nathaniel Bacon capitalized on this unrest in leading an unsuccessful rebellion against the government of Lord Berkeley, ostensibly to protect Western settlers against Indian raids, but probably because the governor's monopoly of the fur trade. There were unclear divisions between many of the colonists and greedy crown appointees. Though the rebellion did not last long, many Native Americans and Virginia colonists died. Jamestown was burned to the ground, and some political reforms were made. The Glorious Revolution in the Bay Colony. During the 1660s and 1670s, the Puritans of Massachusetts Bay Colony found themselves drawn closer into contact with England, something many leaders perceived as a violation of their covenant with God. In 1675, an Indian uprising known as King Philip's War cost the lives of more than 1,000 Indian and New Englanders before it was put down. The large debt incurred by this war by the colony led England to annul the charter of Massachusetts Bay Company and merge the colony into a larger dominion of New England with a tyrannical Sir Edmund Andros as governor. When James II was deposed during the Glorious Revolution in England, Americans in New England overthrew Governor Andros, and the colony of Massachusetts received a new royal charter. Witchcraft. The fear and hysteria resulted in the hanging of 19 alleged witches in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. But hundreds more were accused, awaiting trial when the hysteria abated. Religious discord and economic tensions seem to have been the underlying causes. The Glorious Revolution in New York and Maryland. News of the Glorious Revolution sparked feuds among the colonial gentry in both New York and Maryland. In New York, Jacob Lessier led an abortive attempt to seize control of the colony from powerful Anglo-Dutch families. In Maryland, John Code led an anti-proprietary and anti-Catholic group which successfully petitioned the Crown to transform Maryland into a royal colony. Though the Baltimore family remained important, even regaining their proprietorship in 1715 under the Anglican 4th Lord Baltimore. The creation of a new imperial system did draw the colonies into closer contact with England, but did not eliminate the sectional differences in the colony. It would be a long time before a sense of nationalism would unite the colonies and kindle what we know as the American Revolution.